Welcome to the Stronger Than Steel podcast with your host, Austin Davidson and John Keir, talking Steelers all the time. Now, here's Austin and John.
Hello and welcome back to the Stronger Than Steel podcast. My name is John Keir, and joining me as always is Austin Davidson.
Heyo.
It's going to be an abbreviated, I don't even know if we'll call this an official episode, a special edition of the Stronger Than Steel podcast. Let's call it that. With the Steelers bye week upon us, we figured that, of course, we'll have to go over our picks for week 7 of the NFL season, which has already gotten underway. We talked about the Thursday night football matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos on our last podcast, so we'll go over that game in a minute here, and then we'll get into the rest of the slate of games for Week 7 before getting into, of course, the Steelers bye week, and we'll kind of cover what's been going on with the team next week. So on Thursday night, the Kansas City Chiefs went into Denver as only 3.5-point favorites, and they came away with a 30-6 victory. Not really indicative of just how badly the Broncos played in this one. As we know, the big story from this game was Patrick Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback, one of the best in the league, left with a knee injury. We found out it was a knee dislocation on a quarterback sneak. They popped the knee back into place, and luckily there was no structural or ligament damage, so he's only going to miss what looks like 3 weeks, which is what would have been the best case scenario. So I guess you want to talk about the game first, or you want to go Mahomes first?
We could talk about Mahomes. I think I remember texting you specifically about it because I found it funny. Obviously, we saw Mahomes get injured on a quarterback sneak, and I immediately texted, when it happened, I texted John immediately that Randy Fichtner somewhere, smiling about this. I was right. I knew it. They could. I told you quarterbacks had hurt me well. It's the only time in 10,000 times a quarterback sneak has happened, or second time it's happened that a quarterback got hurt on that. But yeah, it hurts to see the sweetheart child of the NFL get hurt, but it was only a matter of time. Hashtag Madden curse.
Yeah, there's been a lot of different quarterback injuries this year. We already talked about when Roethlisberger went down, that was the same week. Drew Brees went down, Cam Newton. Obviously, now we've got Patrick Mahomes for a good amount of time. Nick Foles went down in Week 1. For the 100th season of the NFL, a league that's been predicated on quarterback play, a lot of significant quarterbacks have missed a lot of time. And it's bizarre because last year there were very few quarterback injuries, and now it's if that was an outlier, then this year is almost an outlier in the other way. Yeah,
it really is a lot. At least almost, it feels like every quarterback has missed some time. Other guys that got hurt, Mitchell Trubisky. There's the whole list is just, it's a long this year, and it does feel weird with so many injuries. The Broncos would probably be starting Drew Lock right now if it wasn't for his injury early on. Granted, he wasn't a starter when he got hurt, but that I count that as well. But and now we have this. Even Kansas City's backup that they're normally go well with. Not Matt Moore. I forgot his name. He got hurt in the Steelers preseason game, though. But just a lot of quarterbacks have gotten hurt this year.
Oh, I don't know who you're talking about. I'll give you a minute to see if you can find that out, because I can't remember who that is. I don't know. I was thinking today, because they were talking about the whole Mahomes thing on radio today. And I just got so mad all over again about it, because that's all that someone like Randy Fichtner needs. I'm sure he'll bring it up in his press conference next week about why the Steelers don't sneak. But it's such a terrible philosophy. That's Stephon Tuitt just injured his bicep rushing the passer last Sunday, so he should actually never rush the passer ever again. I think that's terrible logic, and I get that you run a risk with doing that, but the percentages say it's a better thing to do, and again, it's very unlikely to happen. And not to mention, if you want to run plays that don't get players hurt, then you wouldn't have a playbook. It's a violent sport. Get used to it.
Exactly, it's really dumb. Granted, the Chiefs kind of played with fire because their quarterback has been hurt basically since week 3. He's had that high ankle sprain. That's what I originally thought happened. I thought he really aggravated that ankle, and I was well, you shouldn't be using him for for this because he's already injured, but that's besides the point. And by the way, the quarterback that got hurt in the preseason, that's actually the backup quarterback if he comes back, is Chad Henne. Chad Henne was put on IR after the Steelers preseason game that they had, and he's expected to be the number 2 even when he comes back over Matt Moore.
You know what? I feel better now because as soon as I saw the backup come in, someone asked me who that was, and I was like, oh, that's Chad Henne. And then someone said, oh, no, it's Matt Moore. And I was like, dang, I just got my former Dolphins backup quarterbacks confused. So I'm glad that wasn't just out of the blue. I'm glad I did get that right because it does make sense because Chad Henne isn't in Jacksonville anymore. So I'm glad I at least got that right. Not a bad quarterback room.
Oh, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
I was saying that's not a bad quarterback room. 2 experienced backups behind Mahomes. It's not a bad situation to be in. And Moore played all right. I didn't think he was great, but I mean, his final stat line was pretty nice for a backup.
Yeah, 10 for 19, 117 with a 1 touchdown. Obviously, the 1 touchdown gave him like half his yards. It was a big one to Tyreek Hill. It was like Tyreek Hill didn't even get going until Matt Moore was put into the game. The Broncos stopped respecting him because they stopped respecting Hill because they didn't respect Matt Moore, and it bit them right in the butt. But,
I mean, the real issue in this game, if you're Denver, their defense gave up 30 to a backup, what was mostly a backup quarterback, but the Broncos scored 6 points, and they all came on their first drive of the game, which was an impressive drive, but my goodness, after that, it was a mess. And I know that there's a lot of finger-pointing at Joe Flacco, and he was not very good, but the ground game was not very impressive. Really, that whole offense, outside of Cortland Sutton and Emmanuel Sanders, is kind of terrible.
The offensive line, I thought, really stole the show for being bad, though. They gave up 9 sacks. There wasn't a play where I saw Flacco not under pressure, and I was without Chris Jones, and they were just so banged up. There's guys like stat padding out there. Hitchens had 2 sacks. Frank Clark had 2 sacks.
Yeah, they made Frank Clark look real good. That's impressive.
Exactly, dude. Frank Clark hasn't been looking good. So, all that, the offensive line, I think, is, the biggest problem with them. Poor Mike Munchak, honestly.
Man has his work cut out for him, but hey, that was his choice, right? So I wonder if he misses it at all in Pittsburgh. Who knows? But
Probably does.
Yeah, so Thursday Night Football, it ended up being, I thought if you told me it was going to be a blowout, I would have figured that Mahomes would have been playing the whole game. So as far as the Chiefs go, now you just have to try to survive the next 3 weeks, and then you should be okay. And then for the Broncos, I mean, this is pretty much it. I don't know what else to say. Unless if you're... I don't even know what the Broncos' remaining schedule is, but I can't imagine they'll be winning more than 3 more games the rest of the way.
Yeah, they're going to have the Chiefs again because this was the first matchup, so it's not going to really be good for the Broncos. It's going to be an interesting offseason for them in the least. They're going to have to make a lot of moves. And they're losing a lot of star pieces, and a lot of talk is that they're going to be trading these guys and stuff. So they got an interesting few weeks ahead. And as for the Chiefs, I think they're fine regardless. They could lose their next 3 games, and I think they're going to be okay because their biggest challenge is
Oakland. Yeah.
Exactly. Oakland is the only team over 500 in that division, and it's just I don't believe in them. It's almost kind of surprising that they are over 500. They look like such a bad team, but, Chiefs should be able to get this division easy, even if Patrick Mahomes missed 5 weeks.
I agree with you. Yeah, the Broncos scheduled the rest of the way. They face, I think, only 2 teams that have the same amount of wins as they do right now, and they are the Chargers, of course, and they also play the Detroit Lions, who, as we know, have been hosed already this year.
Yeah, Detroit's a sneaky good team, even though their record might not say so.
Besides that, I think we can put a bow on this Thursday night game then, eh?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get into week 7 of the NFL season, starting with the Sunday 1 o'clock games, of course. First, we have a matchup of 2 disappointing teams, the Los Angeles Rams, backs getting it with a 3-3 record, traveling to Atlanta to take on the Falcons, who are 1-5 and maybe bottomed out after losing to the Cardinals last week.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Rams. They're favored by 3 on the pick'em, right?
It says 3.5 according to ESPN. So right now the Falcons are plus the 3.5.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to take the Rams minus 3.5. It's so weird. I'm still annoyed because I don't know why ESPN doesn't get their shit together and just have the same spread, because I'm on ESPN.com just looking at the games, right? And on the spread it says -3, and this is the ESPN site. And Pick'ems, they do 3.5. So I do have a grudge against ESPN for doing that because it's really, really annoying. But that's besides the point. I will still take the Rams minus 3.5. The Atlanta Falcons are without their best cornerback in Desmond Trufant. They're just not a very good team. And I might not believe in the Rams, but the Rams are still better than the Falcons. I think the Falcons are a bottom 10 team, where the Rams, it's hard to say where they are, but I don't think they're a bottom 10 team. So I'm going to take the Rams minus 3.5.
You know what's amazing about the players who are currently leading the NFL in passing touchdowns? I'm pretty sure Matt Ryan is second.
Oh, really?
I need to double checking that right now, but I'm pretty sure I saw that somewhere. He's tied with Patrick Mahomes for the most touchdown passes in the league, and Mahomes has played, an extra quarter.
Yeah, he didn't get a touchdown in there, but that's kind of crazy. Think about that. I heard that he hasn't been that good this year. He's thrown a lot of interceptions for those touchdowns.
His adjusted QBR, according to ESPN, is 62.7, so that suggests he's been above average but not great. I wouldn't know. I haven't watched Falcons games this year, but what that tells me is that the rest of the team has been that awful, and it's a team that wasn't super talented to begin with, and they're banged up now. And for a league that has so many terrible teams, I feel like most years, the way the Falcons have been playing, they'd be considered a bottom 3 team, but because there are several other really bad teams, they might be like the 6th worst team in the NFL, which is really crazy. It's been that kind of year.
It is really weird. There's just a lot of bad teams. It's hard to gauge how bad certain teams are. Like, where do you put the Chargers? Where do you put the Browns right now? Where do you put all these teams that are just kind of floating around and beating up on other teams? The Titans too. The Titans are a mess. Some people will put the Steelers in there. There's a lot of bad teams. Cardinals, another one.
But I will also take the Rams to cover, lay that 3.5 as well. One of those two really bad teams in the NFL is the Miami Dolphins. They will be in Buffalo starting Ryan Fitzpatrick a week after they said that Josh Rosen was going to be starting the rest of the season. So loving the consistency there. The Bills are getting 16.5. I'm pretty sure the real spread is 17, but that's the largest they've been favored by in a game since 1992. So the Bills coming off the bye, you feeling good about this one for Buffalo?
Oh, it's so rough because Buffalo's offense is just so inept that I think they could win. I think they could hold Miami to 0 points, but now do I think that Buffalo can beat them 17-0. That's really tough. I'm gonna take Buffalo covering because I really feel like Dolphins might not score any points here, but it's so hard for me because I don't know if the Bills' offense is what's holding them back. If anything, the Bills' offense was slightly better, they would have beaten the Patriots probably, and that would have been a big culture shock to the world. But regardless, I am going to take the Bills minus 16.5, but it's tough. It is pretty tough for me. I guess that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet this game if I were you. If I was using your money either. This is a game I wouldn't touch. The Bills are coming off a bye week. They've got a strong running game. The Dolphins' run defense, meanwhile, has been awful. I don't know. At the same time, it's Ryan Fitzpatrick, and I know the team around him is so devoid of talent, and half that team shouldn't even be on an NFL roster. But I've got this funny feeling about Fitzpatrick going into the former building where he once where he really emerged as an NFL quarterback in Buffalo. I've got a funny feeling about this one for the Dolphins. Not that they're going to win, but this feels like the kind of game the Bills could either win, 34-10, or the one that they could win, 17-3. Is that kind of how you're seeing this one too?
Yeah, that's my problem. I don't know if Buffalo's going to be able to put up enough offense.
I can't trust them enough until I see it more consistently. But if you want people to start believing in the Bills, beating the Dolphins isn't going to move the needle much, but beating the Dolphins handily might get some people over the hump there as far as whether or not they'll believe. So a lot of people are waiting to see what happens here. But I'll take the Bills to cover 2, but I'm not very confident about it right now. Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to the winless Cincinnati Bengals, one of those other really bad teams. Jacksonville's only getting 3.5 on the road. I was thinking about Cincinnati in this game, but I'm going to continue to pick against the Bengals right now, especially when it's only 3.5 points on the spread.
I'm honestly surprised you even were considering it. You know William Jackson and Trey Kirkpatrick are out for this game, right?
Yeah, I'm just not, I don't know. I'm not big on the Jaguars right now either.
Wow, okay. I'm picking the Jaguars to cover by 10.
I don't know. I was a believer in the Bengals skill position guys at the beginning of the year, and I keep hoping that they'll come through for me.
Joe Mixon's not going to do it because of the offensive line. The offensive line is super holding him back, and poor A.J. Green is still hurt. It seems like they should have probably put A.J. Green on IR, seeing as he's not back this week. So, I mean, I like the Tyler Boyd still, but, you know, I feel like Joe Mixon has good reason to struggle.
Do you feel like the Bengals are tanking?
Honestly, a little bit. I feel like cause they suspended their best lineman, right? They suspended Cordy Glenn for speaking out about, I forget exactly why. It was a weird reason. Like, he had a concussion, and then the team felt like he was just like he didn't want to play or something. And then he spoke out about it, and then the team suspended him for that. But I feel like they are tanking because, like, they really need offensive linemen. And I don't know, man. I would have let Cordy Glenn play as soon as possible.
I would too, but who knows? It is a mess down there. Minnesota Vikings coming off a couple of big wins, going to Detroit to take on the Lions, who are going to be pissed off after getting hosed on Monday Night Football last week. It's a 1.5 point spread. Vegas isn't quite sure where to go on this one, or at least ESPN isn't. I'm going to take the Lions. I think they're going to be angry, and I think they're going to put a walloping on the Vikings here. I think it could be a 2-score game or more.
I believe in you too, but I'm going to actually just pick against you just for it. I'm a believer in the Lions. I think they're a good team. But, I mean, I've seen them get screwed by the refs about 2 weeks in a row, so I'm going to keep it up and pretend like that's going to happen and pick the Vikings plus 1.5.
How do you think Kirk Cousins plays in this game?
Probably like trash, per usual, besides against, I mean, he didn't play trash against the Eagles' banged-up secondary, but, I mean, this is the Eagles' banged-up secondary. This is a secondary with Darius Slay and some other guys that I really like, so probably not good. Probably Dalvin Cook going to be the one that wins it for the Vikings if they do win. Yeah,
it was huge that the officials were able to give the Packers that win, because now this game for Kirk Cousins is coming against a team that's at 500 and not above 500.
Oh no, Aaron Rodgers got rid of his kryptonite for him.
Yeah, right. Narratives are fun. They sure are. The Oakland Raiders have been defying the odds, as we were talking about earlier, a team that we thought wasn't very good. At least so far at 3-2, that feels like a good 3-2, as opposed to like the Eagles when they were at 3-2 or the Cowboys when they were at 3-2. The Raiders feel good right now, but they could be in for a rude awakening when they go to Lambeau this week. Aaron Rodgers and the Pack are getting 6.5 at home.
This game is really weird to me. It feels like which team could have the most injured wide receiver room. So the Raiders will be without Tyrell Williams again with his plantar fascia injury. I don't know how to say it. It's that foot injury.
It's plantar fasciitis, right?
Yeah, that one. So he's out with that. And then the Packers are down Geronimo Allison, Devontae Adams, and Marcus Valdez-Scantling is not out of the concussion protocol yet. So they're without their top 3 wide receivers. And this game is going to be all about the running back. With that being said, if Aaron Jones is going to go off or Josh Jacobs, I feel like that's going to be the move in this game. It's just a very banged-up game on the offensive front for both teams. I'm going to actually pick the Raiders plus the points, but they could keep it within those points because the Packers are very banged up. like I said, they don't have their top 3 wide receivers, and that's bad. That is really, really bad. I still think the Packers can pull it out. I actually like their now number 1 wide receiver going into this game. I like Lazard, but yeah, I just think that the Raiders can keep this close. So I'm going to take the Raiders plus the points.
The Raiders are coming off a bye, right?
Raiders are coming off a bye.
I like that too, and even though they're on the road, if we're comparing running games, Aaron Jones had a really bad game last week. Jamal Williams picked up the slack. I really like what I'm seeing from Josh Jacobs. I know that we're not guys that are big on drafting running backs early, but he's been paying off for the Raiders big time, at least in year 1. He looks like a bona fide workhorse right now.
Yeah, he looks good. I mean, he got basically the full reins after Isaiah Crowell got hurt, and it's just him and Jalen Richard there, and he's done really well, handled it well. He rushed really well against the hard defense, which impressed me. I didn't expect him to go off against the Chicago Bears, but he did.
I will also take the Raiders plus the 6.5. Houston Texans going to Indianapolis. Colts coming off a bye week and 2 weeks removed from an impressive win in Arrowhead are taking on the team that most recently beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead, being the Houston Texans. This will be a big matchup in terms of determining who the lead team will be for that AFC South crown. Both teams are combined 7-4. The Colts are home though and coming off a bye. I'm going to take the Colts. I've been big on teams that are coming off byes, especially when you've got a good coaching staff, led by Frank Reich for the Indianapolis Colts. And I'm still week to week a little concerned about how I feel about the Texans. Although I will say the fact that they haven't given up a sack in 2 straight weeks is huge for them. And that if they have that figured out, they could be they might be the second best team in the AFC if that is the case.
Yeah, they definitely improved. I really wish Malik Hooker was playing for this game. It would make this game easier for me to pick. When Bradley Roby was declared out, I saw that before the Colts injury report. So I was like, I think I'm going to take the Colts easy then, because I think that they could pass all over them with T.Y. Hilton. But this was tough for me, but I'm going to still pick the Colts. I wish that they had Malik Hooker for this game. He's listed as doubtful, so he's not exactly not going to play, but, I mean, it's not looking good. But I'll still pick the Colts to cover.
I will too. This might be the game of the week, I think.
Yeah, it's a very good game.
I will take the Colts as well. So take the Colts to cover 1.5. Cardinals at Giants, a matchup of 2 young rookie quarterbacks. The Cardinals came up with their second win of the season, and the Giants are coming off that Thursday night game against the Patriots where they lost by 3 touchdowns, but were able to keep it close for most of the game. Where are you leaning on this one?
I'm leaning towards picking for the Cardinals here. I think that the Cardinals are going to keep it close, and they just got their probably best player back on their entire team, discounting Kyler Murray because I don't know where to rank him yet. Patrick Peterson is coming back and playing for this game, and the Giants are without Sterling Shepard again. So I'm going to pick the Cardinals plus the points, and I think they're going to win. I think the Cardinals are going to win here because I think that their team just got massively improved, I think, with Patrick Peterson coming back.
I'm not super confident about this game. I'm going to take the Giants just to have a differing view from you, but I'm not super comfortable either way on this one. I feel like the Cardinals are gaining steam here, but I like what I've seen from the Giants, at least in terms of a week-by-week improvement. And I know that they lost by 3 scores last week, but they were able to keep it close for a little while. And the defense was improved against the Patriots, which granted is not a very good offense, but I liked what I saw. I'll take the Giants, lay that 2.5 for me. And yeah, all right. Last 1 o'clock game, San Francisco 49ers looking to move the record to 6-0 against the Washington Redskins, who are 1-5 coming off a 1-point win against the Miami Dolphins. San Francisco's getting 9.5 on the road. I'll take those points and I'll run with them, cover that spread. That's a bad Washington team that barely beat the Dolphins, who were trying to lose.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the 49ers to cover as well. I just think that their defense is way too much for the Redskins to handle, and there's nothing on that team that has shown me that they can actually win here. So I'm going to pick the 49ers to cover.
a matchup of two disappointing teams this season, the Los Angeles Chargers and Tennessee Titans. Tennessee's getting 2.5. I would stay away from this game. Ryan Tannehill's getting the start at quarterback for the Titans, who is the white Marcus Mariota, and I don't like either of these teams.
I tend to agree with you here. I actually do not like either of these teams. It's really tough to pick because I don't know which one is worse. I mean, if you want to look at it as mutual matchups, the Titans lost worse to the Broncos than the Chargers did, but I really am struggling here to pick a team.
You want me to pick first? I do have a way I'm leaning.
All right, you go first, because I'm still actually thinking about it.
Seeing the way the Steelers were able to run the ball last week against the Chargers makes me feel better about Derrick Henry having a good game. Meanwhile, the other side, I'm not super confident that the Chargers are going to be able to get anything going against the Titans because they do have a solid defense, not a good one, but a solid one, and the Chargers' offensive line was pretty weak last week. So I'll give a slight advantage to the Titans, but this is a very slim margin I'm feeling here.
I'm going to pick the Chargers plus points here. I don't really feel good about either team coming to this one. It feels like they're going to tie.
That would really be, that would just be what the fans deserve, I suppose. 4:25 game on Fox. This is going to be the Saints and the Bears. So Teddy Bridgewater looking to push his record to, what is it, 4-0 as a starter or 5-0? 5-0, right? 4-0. 4-0, my bad. And they're going to be in Soldier Field taking on the Bears coming off the bye week. This is going to be a great defensive battle, but I don't know. Trubisky's back, right?
Yeah, Trubisky is back for this game. I mean, it says questionable, but he should be playing.
I don't really think that moves the needle at all. Chicago's getting 3.5. I'll take the Saints just because I'm on that Teddy Bridgewater bandwagon, and I don't. Even with the extra week off, I'm not really sure that the Bears are going to be able to do anything extravagant on offense. That offense has somehow gotten worse. It's looked more like the offense we saw with Trubisky in year one with him than it has in year two, because year two was at least passable. This year has been terrible.
Yeah, the Bears' offense has been kind of skimpy, to say the least, but I'm still going to pick the Bears to cover here. Without Alvin Kamara and Jared Cook, that's a big loss for Teddy Bridgewater, and I feel like I like Teddy Bridgewater, but I felt like the part of this team was carrying him. When you have Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas as your wide receiver running back, you got some pretty good help. But now he lost the starting tight end, he lost his starting running back that's really good and a good receiving back. I'm going to pick the Bears to cover here.
The last 4 o'clock game, the Baltimore Ravens going to the Seattle Seahawks playing at CenturyLink Field. Seattle's getting 3.5. If you're a Steelers fan, this is the game you should be watching more than any other game this week. A Ravens loss this week is huge because it kind of puts the Steelers back on track here and keeps the division within striking distance. That being said, the Ravens did make a move last week. Obviously, they picked up Marcus Peters in a trade. That secondary did get a little better. I'm still not that convinced that the Ravens are that good of a team. I think it'd be one thing if the Ravens were playing in Baltimore, but in Seattle, against what's looking like the MVP of the league and Russell Wilson, I think the Seahawks will win by about 10. But it'll be a close game throughout, but I think the Seahawks still win this one by 2 scores.
I'm going to pick the Seahawks to cover as well. I just think that they're the better team coming into this game. I like that they're getting both their starting tackles back, unlike last week when they didn't have either offensive tackle. I pick Seattle to cover here.
In Sunday Night Football, we have part 2 of the coin flip game, in my opinion, between the Eagles and Cowboys. 2 of those 3 teams, along with the Rams that we were talking about at the end of last week, as teams that are backsliding, who could turn it around. Well, actually, we were talking about the Chiefs. We weren't even talking about the Eagles because they hadn't lost all those games in a row. But the 2 teams at the top of their respective division in the NFC East, it's been pretty disappointing for both teams for the last few weeks. The Eagles having terrible problems in the secondary and the Cowboys just not being able to get the offense going enough, too many turnovers. Dallas is getting 2.5. I'll take the Eagles just because I'm mad about the Cowboys being frauds last week and really disappointing me and letting me down against the Jets.
I'll just to pick something different. I will take the Cowboys to cover here. I don't feel good about that. I do think the Eagles are going to come and win this game, but I'm still going to pick the Cowboys just to have something different.
Monday Night Football, it's a rematch of the Patriots and Jets. I believe that was the game after Sam Darnold left with an injury. So this will be the first time Darnold plays the Patriots this year. The Patriots won 30-14 at Gillette Stadium earlier this season. Monday Night Football, 6-0 versus 1-4. The Patriots are getting 9.5 on the road. I'm actually going to go with the Jets here, and that might be kind of surprising because of the way the Patriots have played this year. And it was only one game, but the Jets did look pretty darn impressive last week. And I really do, after seeing that last week, I am a believer in how much a player like Sam Darnold can change that offense. And Le'Veon Bell looked better last week too. I think they'll be able to keep it close. I think this will be a one-score game because as time has gone on, I'm less and less of a believer in the Patriots offense than I have been. That being said, I'm not that worried about them in terms of where they'll end up. I'm sure they'll be just fine. But from a week-to-week basis, right now their offense has not got things figured out, and the Jets' defense has been playing better.
I'm going to pick the Patriots to cover here. I do like your points. I do think that the Jets played much better with Sam Darnold there. I just don't think it's enough because, the New England Patriots defense is a whole other ball game than the Cowboys defense. So I think that the Patriots could beat them by 10 points. So I'll pick the Patriots to cover.
The question kind of at that point is, are the Jets going to be able to score more than 14? Because I think the Patriots will probably be finishing right around that 24 mark, right?
Yeah, that's about right.
So, okay, time will tell. Are we missing anything? I think we got all the games.
No, I think we got it all covered here.
All right, obviously the Steelers are on a bye, so are the Browns, and there's 2 NFC teams on a bye, right?
Yes. I forget the teams, but I think one's the Bucks. Yeah, the Bucks aren't playing this week, so the Buccaneers are one of them.
And the Panthers. The Panthers are the other one, because they were just in London.
Got it. Understood.
Okay. Oh, one last thing. I know we talked a little bit about it before, the 17-game NFL schedule with a 3-week preseason. How do you like that?
I do like that. I like minimizing the preseason a little bit because the last game always does feel pointless. I do like the idea of having 17 games. Just it depends on how they work it because they got to be able to make bye weeks fair and stuff because there'd be probably 2 bye weeks. So it'd be an 18-week season with 17 games. Well, not counting the preseason, of course, but 18-week regular season, I should say. But, yeah, I'm a big fan of that. I think adding that 17th game would be nice, and a big thing about it is no more teams that aren't above 500 or below 500. There's no more 8-8 seasons. You're either a losing team or a winning team.
And not to mention, we had talked a little bit about this, is the possibility that if you do have that extra game, you don't run into the problem of, oh, this team has more home games than the other. You fix that by having each team play one neutral site game, and I'm a big fan of that. And, you could maybe flip-flop with teams based on... The only question, I guess, at that point is, who would you play with that extra game? Is it an extra non-conference game? So I guess that's kind of a question, but I like the idea of that. So, if the Steelers played the Eagles, I think I'm watching Michigan and Penn State right now. I'm thinking, oh, what if you could play this Eagles and Steelers in a game in Happy Valley where Penn State plays? Kind of a meeting of those 2 teams in the middle. I think that would be kind of cool.
That would be pretty cool.
So just something to think about, and I'm sure we'll hear more about it because it sounds like the NFL has scrapped the 18-game season for now, and the 17-game season will be kind of what they're talking about over the next few months here. So we'll keep our eye on that. That being said, I think we're all set here, right?
Yeah, we're good.
Alrighty, well, ladies and gentlemen, you know the deal. If you have any questions about the show, feel free to email us, contact us on social media, and check out our website, strongerthansteelnfl.blogspot.com. And as always, thank you for joining me, Austin, and please enjoy Week 7 of the NFL season, and if you're a Steelers fan, enjoy the week off from stress.
Yeah, man. I'm still going to be stressing over the Seahawks-Baltimore game because I need Seattle to win, but yeah, man, everyone enjoy.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the week.
Bye.
You have been listening to Stronger Than Steel podcast. Thank you for joining us today, and don't forget to check out our website listed in the description below.